Hello, everyone. My name is Dmitrii Naumenko. I'm the team lead of the Scala Plugin in IntelliJ IDEA at JetBrains. We're, as I mentioned, part of the big IntelliJ IDEA team, responsible for for everything related to Scala. And today here, mostly everyone from our team is here. You can find us at the booth, 9 people. We will be happy to chat with you on any topics related to Scala and IntelliJ. Oh, sorry, first time using this clicker. The topic. I wanted to make a talk and thought a lot what the topic could be. We asked the community in several socials what could be interesting to them. We had a couple of dozens of responses. There were questions related to how to be productive in IntelliJ IDEA, questions related to Scala 3 support in IntelliJ IDEA, and also a lot of people seem to be interested in contributing to Scala plugin and how to write a plugin, how to contribute to the code. And today decided, this is not an exhaustive list of what people were interested in, but I picked these 3 too, and I decided to prepare a mixed talk, combining multiple subtopics and talk about everything a little without diving into details. I hope you discover something new today. And first, a couple of words how to be productive with IntelliJ IDEA. IntelliJ IDEA is an incredibly powerful tool and provides you huge amount of features that can boost your productivity. And the challenge is that many of those features are hidden in plain sight, and most of the users never use them or never discover them. And there are 2 edges of it. On the one hand, when you develop an IDE feature, it's very important to make it on the one hand discoverable. The users do not need to search for it. You need to make the UX smooth. At the same time, you need to not make it disruptive, annoyingly intrusive for those who might not need it. And this can get very challenging quite frequently. At least that's something we keep in mind. On the one hand, another side of this is that, with any great tools, it's important to invest into, to learn what the tool can do for you. And a simple advice: you should invest into self-learning. Stay curious, explore what your tool can do, and it can actually pay off. And if you don't know where to start, I wanted to show several tips, several pointers where you could look into. One of the places you could check is IntelliJ IDEA YouTube channel. It contains multiple playlists related to AI, Scala, tips and tricks, Debugger, a lot of interesting stuff. I will put the QR codes where possible. If you don't have time to scan them, you can come to me later and I'll share, or you can just Google IntelliJ IDEA YouTube. And another great source of information is simply the IntelliJ IDEA help page, which can tell you a lot about debuggers, profilers, AI, of course. And I encourage you to go check it out. And you could also use a couple of plugins. I would like to highlight 2 out there. One is by JetBrains, IDE Features Trainer. It's mostly for beginners and intermediate. It allows you learning IDE features interactively, directly in IDE. Another one is Key Promoter. Nice plugin which can suggest you. It can show you notification and advise using some key shortcut when it sees that you do something with mouse and when it sees the possibility to optimize it for those who want to learn more shortcuts. And I think the best advice here is to go ask your colleagues about their favorite features, their tips and tricks. And this is very very powerful approach. You can discover a lot of gems. I personally, been for a long time with JetBrains, discover a lot myself by asking my teammates regularly or teammates uh, from other teams in JetBrains. Yeah, and I wanted to show you a short demo highlighting just a few of our favorite IntelliJ IDEA features. It will be a quick demo without stopping much at the code. I intentionally made it very simple, plain Scala, mostly examples. Don't want you to dive into it. The code doesn't matter much. My intention here is to inspire you to go and learn about those features, try them on your own, check the resources I mentioned, and explore other new stuff. One note, in this talk, I do not cover anything related to AI. We have another talk just after mine, another room where we make an overview of everything JetBrains brings to the table of AI tooling. Right, let me start. I'll quickly switch. Like, is the font size good enough for you? Great. And I would start with some basic thing, like if you're lost and want to find anything, there is this action which is promoted just in the welcome screen, search everywhere, which can help you find any action, file, recent files, symbols. Sometimes it can get pretty messy, and I personally prefer the find action where you can, like, suppose you don't have a shortcut for one of your actions, you can use some fuzzy search, for example, like edit run configurations or create new project. Yeah, this is a very simple basic feature, but you'd be surprised to know that most of the users don't use it, and many just don't know about it, even though it's always here. And yeah, you might have also noticed that I see some pop-ups at the bottom. This feature is called Presentation Assistant. It can help you if you present somewhere and show some demos with IntelliJ. You can set up the font size, the pop-up size, the timing, the location. Yeah, pretty useful. Next, many of you probably know about Scala worksheets. It's a very convenient way to play around with Scala code, test some ideas. And most of the users would just add their worksheet to their project. But quite frequently, I find I want to test some code without polluting my project structure. And for that, IntelliJ IDEA has a concept of scratch files. You can create a scratch file, select Scala, and what it will do for you, it will create basically a worksheet file, but outside your project model. We can see that it's located here in IntelliJ IDEA system directory. And it can be pretty handy when you want to try a lot of code which you need for 10 minutes. I do that dozens of times per day. And the good thing is that even though it's outside the project directory, you can still access its classes, libraries. In this case, I have some simple pickle example, which can, yeah, it parses some string, do some printing. Yeah, and many people know about worksheets. Most of the people never use the scratch files. I hope, yeah, you'll start using them. The next the next big topic is the debugger. Debugger is one of the most powerful things of IntelliJ IDEA, and it's quite easy to start with it. You just put the breakpoint on some line and run the program using debug. And most of the users, they simply stop at this. And most of the users, for example, never right-click on the breakpoint and see what is there. Even so, it hides so many powerful features. And I wouldn't go into details in all the debugger features. At the YouTube channel I mentioned, there is a great playlist about the debugger containing like 3 or something hours. When I watched it first time many years ago, there was not that many videos back then, but still there were some essential videos back then. It boosted my productivity, definitely. For example, one of the basic things you could do here is use some condition suspension. So you will stop at the breakpoint only when some condition is satisfied. Also, I'm not sure whether you see it here, but here we have multiple lambdas on the same line. And at each lambda, we have a separate breakpoint. I think it's better visible at my screen. Hope you also see it. And not much new that you can actually click there. Suppose you have a code base that you cannot change, I know, some library, or you're in the middle of the debug session where you have the code that has these one-liners. And there's a lot of such code out there. So yeah, let's just restart the debugger. And now you can see that you can iterate over the lambda body. Now, suppose you want to inspect concrete user. Right. A couple of words about the code. Here we have a simple user repository fetching some users. A couple of words later why we do it twice, but it's later. And suppose you want to, you don't want to distract all the fields of that user, and you just want to watch over some value. You can easily do that by just adding a watch here. So you're mostly interested in the age for some reason, I don't know. And now when you debug every Lambda invocation, you can see that age. And if you want more, you can always open the multi-line evaluate dialog, which it allows you to evaluate arbitrary code. In this case, we can evaluate the whole Lambda. Yeah, and it's incredibly useful when you want to debug runtime state of some applications. Like I use it all the time, but still 90% of the users who use debugger don't do that. Then suppose you have some, let's stop it now. Suppose you have some library code. In this case, it's very simple. It's all list from Scala standard library. And suppose you want to log something in the library code. Like you cannot do println here. Let's say I want to log what is the size of this rest. So you could check out the Scala sources and do some println there, but it won't be very rebuild it to the dependencies of your project, but it's not the most convenient way. With IntelliJ, you can just right-click here and select suspend. Now you can see what suspends means. It's that you will not stop at this breakpoint. And now you can select the evaluate and log, and simply do like rest size. And if we run the program, yeah, you can see that we logged all the elements from the library. In the real projects, it's also very useful when you want to understand more how like some computation in your library is done. It can save lives. Now, what's next? Yeah. Also, I would want to quickly mention some renders that IntelliJ provides. So you might have noticed that the first users we fetched it's actually a lazy list, and lazy list is evaluated lazily. If you, for some reason at runtime, want to look inside and actually see what are the elements, you can click at it, and it will evaluate first 10 elements. If you want to explore it more, you can click again and continue like evaluating. If you happen to have a sequence of some case classes, the standard way you explore it is you just inspect the list, but there is a very nice feature. If you click the explore elements, you'll have the table view where you can inspect every value separately. It's just a nice view or nice aggregation, the table view. It works for case classes, Scala case classes, Java records, also for tuples. Right. Also, if your code operates with some HTML and it's somewhere in your local variables, you can also render the HTML. It has certain limitations, like if you have some styles in some unobvious place, it might not pick them up, but it might help to preview it. Yeah, the preview might be helpful. The last example, suppose you have some asynchronous computations. In this case, it's just standard Scala concurrency API. And we have here some async computation starting some thread. Yeah, apologize for using await and 10 seconds. I intentionally did it like that to not overcomplicate the program. So here we have one computation starting one thread, another computation starting another, etc. And let's go to this method, restart the debugger. Okay, we're not interested in that. So what you would usually see in the non-IntelliJ debugger, if you inspect the stack trace, you would see that you end at this run, because that's where the thread computation begins. But in IntelliJ, you can do more. IntelliJ saves information about other threads, and if you are interested in inspecting how you arrive to this place in code, you can just continue inspecting. Here you can scroll down several threads and see that originally we called it just from the main. The limitation is here that we cannot see the variables inside other threads, but that's JVM limitation. Also, sometimes when you're in the middle of the debug session, you might want to return in time. So in this case, we're here in the foo3 method, which is called in foo1, but before that there was foo2. And you do not want to restart the entire evaluation because you might have spent 10 minutes maybe debugging or something. And for that, you could just reset a stack frame here at the stack trace. There is a tiny button which is not shown by default. You need to hover it. And if we click it, we returned too far. So now we are back to the original place where foo1 was called. We can step into foo1, and now we can take another turn and go inspect what happens in foo2. Yeah, that's all for the debugger. Now I wanted to quickly demo some other features based on the same code. If you haven't yet used this feature, like last year we released this new feature called X-ray. It's basically reimagination of how the inline hints are shown. By default, your code remains clean. You do not see a lot of inlay hints that can frequently, in a complicated code basis, like mix your formatting, and the code might not look nice. So if you want to see some insights about your Scala program, you can simply press double command or double control on Windows or Linux. And you can see a lot of useful information, some implicit conversions here, what is the type of method call chain, some implicit parameters, types, and if you are tired holding the command, for example, you need to explore it for a longer time, you can just pin it here. And it's configurable. Just go to the settings here and see what you can configure there. Yeah, also all good old features still there, so you still can extract method. You still have the rename. And the next nice feature, you could see it without doing anything. I would still want to highlight it. When you operate with some documentation, whether in the library code or in the document, like the default view would be like something like that, you have a lot of Scala doc syntax, which makes it not very convenient to read if it's like that. So by default, so IntelliJ IDEA has this feature called in-editor doc rendering, which is enabled by default in the library code, but you can also enable it for your project code just simply by right-click in your sources and select render all document. And here, yeah, you have a syntax highlighting inside the docs. All the links work, and you can navigate. All right, that's it with it. Next is a very hidden feature because it's disabled by default, and I would be surprised if you knew about it. Suppose you want to split your editors. Like the regular way to do that is right-clicking here with mouse, doing split right or split top, or you can invoke some action with find actions, also split. But there is this nice feature when you invoke. I will not like say it out loud which shortcut. It's here. Now you have an ability to split your editor. Like this selector is shown. You can use your arrows, like if you're not a mouse person, select the place where your editor should be located, just press enter, and you can do it multiple times. You can do any setup very quickly in a seconds. But yeah, unfortunately, for now, it's disabled by default, and to enable it, you need to go to registry and just fuzzy search split, IDE open and split with chooser, and it will work for you. Yeah, it will be enabled by default in IntelliJ IDEA in future, but not yet. Also, one nice thing many people don't know, like I personally use it all the time, is multi-carets. So you can edit your code pretty quickly by multiplying the carets. I usually do not, like the way you do it is you hold Option or Alt and just press up or down, but I usually do it another way. I select something I'm interested in, and now let's say I wanted to change this for val to var for some reason. And I just select the next, add selection for next occurrence, and it multiplies multiple carets, and I can just simply transform it in like 2 key strikes. Right, I think that's it for this part of the demo. I wanted to show you one of our recent developments. We introduced this like 2 releases ago. The feature which could be very helpful for the code base, which heavily depends on macro, both Scala 3 and Scala 2, and also on Scala 3 transparent lines. So here, don't pay attention much to what this macro does. I didn't come up with a very meaningful example. It's one of our examples from UTrack. So here we have a transparent line with some macro. And if you go check the type, okay, sorry. I have this feature enabled. So if you go check the type, you can see that the type is not inferred properly. The completion doesn't work. Yeah, nothing here. So if you go to settings and enable this use types reported by Scala compiler setting, you'll see that everything will work. Type inference will work, completion will work, all the features based on that will work. And the feature, yeah, it's right now disabled by default. If your code relies on macro, transparent lines, and used to have some issues in IntelliJ, I encourage you to try it out and provide us with the feedback. We'll be very interested in hearing it. So far, we got a lot of positive feedback from a lot of users. Right, and we are considering enable it by default next release. Right, let me get back to the presentation. Yeah, we wrote more about that in one of our blog posts. You can read more by this link, by this QR. And yeah, there are certain limitations with that. If you have to delegate the compilation to the build tool or to the SBT shell or via BSP, it won't work yet, but we already have some thoughts how to make that happen. It depends on the compiler-based error highlighting, which I'll talk about it just in a couple of seconds. Right, a couple of seconds has passed. So yeah, what is that? If you go to the settings, you'll notice that there are two error highlighting modes. One is called built-in, another compiler. What compiler mode does, in short, it delegates all the highlighting to the compiler, which is run in the background. Even though it's called highlighting, but nowadays it's also used for the compiler-based types for macrocode and for some compiler-backed quick fixes. And the built-in is the classical Scala 2 version where all the highlighting is done on the internal Scala plugin model of the language. Some people historically call that model presentation compiler, so it's not quite accurate. By default, the compiler-based highlighting is enabled for Scala 3, and for Scala 2, the classical mode is used. But most of the features that we have, like completion, navigation, X-ray, type info, and many other, they still depend on this internal model. So sometimes, especially when using more advanced language features, if you see that some IDE features don't work, it means that our language model hasn't yet been adapted to these, to some of the Scala 3 language changes. Yeah, and I wanted to say a couple of words. I wanted to highlight some differences between what it means to support a language in the compiler and in IDE. There are different kinds of changes. Some of them are more synthetical. Some of them are like just about type inference. But as a representative example, I wanted to use the famous optional braces feature. I hope everyone here knows about that. So I will not dive too much into the details. In the compiler, there was a pretty elegant change where they introduced two new tokens called indent and outdent, which is calculated based on the indentation. And to put it simply, it's remapped to braces. And in the later phases, everywhere, compiler works with, sees it as a braces. So it required changes in lexer, parser, also patching some error handling, some REPL input from what I remember. In Scala Plugin, we also had to adapt our lexer and parser, but IDEs designed for, they designed more for more than just analyzing the static code. You can do much more there. You can edit code. You can type there, yeah, you can do a lot of code refactoring. So basically, our team had to patch tons of the places which relied on the fact that use it as an axiom that there are braces. We patched the formatter, refactoring, quick fixes, completions, live templates, and it took quite a long. It took us quite a long time to do that, several months. But nowadays, we still have several things to polish, but the syntax works pretty well in IntelliJ IDEA. If you have any issues with that, please let us know about that. And here I wanted to quickly highlight the progress we've done with Scala 3. We've been actively working on adapting our internal language model. And in the latest version of plugin, many or most of the features already work, with some exceptions that always can be some edge cases some people report, but generally we consider them supported. There are also several quite important features which are in active progress, and they are coming soon. One of the issues there is that many of them are turned out to be quite interconnected with each other, and yeah, it turned out to be a rabbit hole. But you can expect to have them this fall, or maybe some of them this winter. All right. Also, I wanted to provide a couple of tips for those who use Scala 3 and thus by default compiler-based highlighting. Very shortly, if you're active SBT shell user, if you build your project from SBT shell in IntelliJ IDEA or do that from external terminal, there might be some issues, there can be some clashes between it and IntelliJ. So if you don't have to do that, don't do that. Or if you have to use SBT in addition to IDEA, or if you cannot just build using the IDEA means, I would advise you to try this, enabling this setting, which is currently disabled by default, but it can help you. If it does, please let us know about that as well. Like so far, we've heard positive feedback from those people who struggled from some issues related to SBT. We will fix it soon. It's a known problem. Right, and several tiny suggestions. If you do not heavily use like advanced Scala 3 features, you might just try the built-in highlighting mode. It can work pretty well for most of the language features, especially if you have any kind of issues in the compiler-based mode. One of the benefits you can get, it can be just faster, consume much less RAM and CPU. Also, for the most brave, you could try using our nightly builds of Scala Plugin. They contain the latest updates for the Scala 3. It can be sometimes not the most stable, by definition of nightly. For example, it already contains many fixes for multiple using clauses. So those who are waiting for them, please try it. I also wanted to end the Scala 3 section with some observation of some improvements in the processes. Like one of them, we in Scala Plugin observe the better pace of Scala 3 language changes. Like last couple of years, we didn't notice any drastic, huge changes which would distract us too much. They were pretty isolated, nice changes. I can highlight that we have a better communication with Scala Center and Virtuous Lab. They were timely notifying us about upcoming changes, and during the last year, we managed to implement most of the all SIPs, like name tuples, better force, some changes in given syntax. Also, a good thing is that in the 3.7, there is now, since 3.7, there is now this preview flag, which is a good sign. It will allow us to have some time buffer to adapt some changes which were considered experimental, and we didn't look much into it. And yeah, it provides us time to implement them. Also, one of the examples of some improvements, we managed to integrate the Scala expression compiler, like official one, last year, and now some features of the debugger are based on that. And my last section is about how you could contribute. And one of the biggest things you can do is just share the feedback. It matters a lot. Scala projects are very diverse, and they use a lot of different libraries, code styles, and we still continue discovering new patterns which users use. And the best place to do that is to check out our UTrack. So if you happen to have any issue, please just report it to our UTrack. Even if there is some similar issue, your concrete example can help us a lot. If you have any questions related to Scala plugin, Scala support, you can check our Discord. But it's better to provide the concrete issues in the track directly. But in our Discord is quite active. So yeah, I invite everyone there. Just a tiny note that please provide as much details as possible, the versions you use, some code examples. Ideally, it would be nice to have some project example. I realize that in production code bases, sometimes it can be quite difficult to do that because you have a huge code base that you cannot share. For small and medium-sized code bases, there is an option to share the project securely with us. Only our team will see it. Yeah, and also if you have any issues you could present now, I welcome you at our booth, and we already resolved several of them and collected some feedback. Yeah, the next thing that you can do, you could actually contribute to the code. Scala Plugin is actually open source and is on GitHub, and it's written in Scala. We use it every day and love it. You can simply start with README or contributing. If you see any issues on the way, please let us know in Discord or just provide in a PR, because we might be biased sometimes because we spend there all our life, I mean, working life. The contributing on D has a lot of useful links. For example, there are a couple of links to existing YouTube videos about how to contribute IntelliJ Scala plugin by one of our colleagues, and a nice video by Igal Tabachnik of how to build IntelliJ IDEA plugins based on Scala, which also can provide you some hints and also some other useful links. Right, if you don't know where to start and just want to start with something, we have this special tag up for grabs. We use it to mark the tickets which we think are quite doable for people that are outside JetBrains and don't have much context. There is also a special tag for Scala 3 tickets. You can filter by them as well. If you want to take over some of the tickets, please leave a comment. Some of them might not have all the details. Usually, if we see the interest, we can provide many pointers where to start with, and it can save you a lot of time. Also, if you check our GitHub, you might see that most of the PRs are just rejected. Don't panic, it's a technical thing, they're approved. The thing is that we have to run the tests and some internal stuff via internal TeamCity, and we yet couldn't manage to integrate GitHub and TeamCity. We know that it is possible, we just haven't spent time on doing that. So don't be afraid that all the PRs are rejected. And in the end, I wanted to I wanted to thank all people who contributed to our plugin, both by providing the feedback and contributing the code. I couldn't possibly include everyone here, so I had to only pick the most active from the last year, both on GitHub and the Utrecht. Again, thank you very much. If you happen to be here today, one of you, please come to our booth. It would be nice to talk to you. But not only to you, it would be nice if all of you came to our booth, and if you happen to have any questions, we can discuss them. Yeah, I also suggest subscribing to our socials. Yeah, thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Dmitrii, for the great talk. Now we have some time for several questions. Yes.
I want to ask about the compiler-based highlighting, because recently there was introduced some kind of presentation compiler mode just in the Scala 3 and Scala 2 compiler as well, which is used prominently by metals. So I wanted to ask if the compiler-based highlighting is using just a normal compiler, or if it is using the presentation mode of the compiler.
Right now, it uses normal compiler. We have our own server running in the background. yeah, so
And are there any reasons for that, or don't you think it would be beneficial to use the presentation compiler for this, because it seems to be designed just for that?
like the presentation compiler term is a little bit overloaded, and many people include several different things into it. I'm not sure I've heard any latest developments from the last several months that would be related to that. Like overall, the more general questions related, like how could we reuse more from something from the compiler? Usually, these kind of questions are a huge, like, rabbit hole to larger discussions, and we spent like 30 minutes or an hour discussing that. To put it very simply and short, we are exploring ways. It's not that simple. I mean, it could be quite easy to come up with some proof of concept and see that like something works, but there is a long way from that to making it production ready. If you want to discuss more details on that, happy to see you at our booth.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Hello, thanks for the talk. I have a question regarding breakpoints and stuff. So when I overabuse Debugger, there is a thing, like in some cases, some black magic works and IDEA draws a cross on the breakpoint, like it's not available for some reason, so please put your breakpoint somewhere else. For example, when you put it on for comprehension, like on the line with 4, it just doesn't work. But sometimes dark magic doesn't work, and it doesn't draw this cross, and it just doesn't work. Like, it doesn't suspend. So I wonder if there is a rule of thumb where you can or cannot put breakpoints, because, yeah, not everywhere it works. And you need like to figure it out. Okay, can I put it here? Will it work here or not?
We don't have the guidelines how to like do that properly. I just can comment that it can be different from Scala 2 and Scala 3. And we know that there are existing issues with some tricky cases. Usually it depends on some code around, for example, heavy usage of Lambda. Like we have a couple of UTrack tickets. It would be very nice to see your concrete example, like it could help as well. But yeah, we acknowledge there are some issues there, and
I got it.
sorry.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. I think now it's time for the next speaker to prepare the setup. And thank you again, Dmitrii.
All right, thank you.